I'm going to begin with a poem. By the way, you were incredible, all of you, and I have brought my afro for that last song, because when that last song came out, the afro was doing it. So my afro unites with all of you, okay? And the dancing was incredible. I mean, to sing and dance is actually quite not the easiest thing, because you've got all your cues to sing, which is really important, but to dance at the same time, it's like rubbing your stomach and thinking, you know, but you did it incredibly well, and it's, just in future, will you come on after me, because a standing ovation before is a little disheartening. It's good what you did. Oh, hello. I'll begin with a poem. It's called Belong. You know, I brought up in the Lancashire, in the villages of Lancashire, the Lilliputian villages of Lancashire, and then I came to Manchester later on, and I realized that the narrative. By the way, when you get older, right? I'm not saying that but I'm just saying that you will stop saying story and start using the word narrative. Just so you know. And you'll be going around Sainsbury's, and you'll be like, oh, I get it now. Yeah, I'm using narrative when I meant story. Anyway. Belong. Have you seen the churches of Lalibela, swam in the warm springs of Addis Ababa? Have you heard the reaching Nile of the Bible and Quran, my Abyssinia? Have you heard whispering widow peaks of sand, seen the reeling rainbows as Victoria falls, felt the mists of the Simeon Mountains and the dust clouds of Harari's hyena's call? And did you see the gentleman? And did you see the gentleman taken, then imprisoned for 25 years, who walked out of chains and became president, and who faced down the world's fears? Did you see his example to the world? How he embraced adversity, how he embraced his adversary, spoke of unassailable truth and reconciliation. Then we flounder in war's anniversary. Hold me while spirits of the past and rivers of blood run through me. All this past feeds this present and brings the truth into me. His story, your search, his journey, ours. Something rings true inside. I stand atop Piccadilly Tower and sing his story, your search, his journey, ours. Something rings true inside and strong. I stand atop Piccadilly Tower and sing, I belong here. I belong. I, the Mogadishan who knows troubled waters. I, the Belfast man who knows troubled cities. I, the Ethiopian man who knows troubled lands. I, the Serbian who crossed troubled seas, who walked through darkened valleys under the shadows of death and bled, and who lay amongst the freshly killed and in fear of tears played dead. Those who have cried cities, sobbed roads in the name of here and where they came from, stand with children atop Bridgewater Hall and sing, I belong here. I belong. I'm the blackest man. The tongue twists, the skin dark. I moved next door to the whitest poet in John Cooper Clarke. I'm buried in the cemetery where Morrissey walked in the earth from where grew stone roses. I am the seamstress of Manchester's dream coat. I designed the clothes for Moses. I am the PSV, the sanctuary, the kitchen. I am the Reno, the red rhythm, the bull rings blues. I am the dread in its red, and for all that's said, wherever I go, I am you. I grew in the villages of Lancashire. You stood upon the horizon since birth. The reason I came to Manchester is because it's the greatest place on earth. I bring my past, I bring my future, I bring my rights, I bring my song. I stand atop the hacienda and sing. We belong here. We belong. You know, at school, I was not part of the story. I was not part of the story. I was not part of the narrative. And it turns out that those who are outside a received narrative are best placed to see what's missing, are best placed to see where the light should be shining, which means that we who are outsiders, which is everybody, are sort of conduits for light and for change and for growth. Just the other day I was made, I don't do many schools. I used to do a lot of schools as a child, as an adult. Children would say to me, "Are you famous?" It's a lovely question. By the way, I would love you to do the singing down the corridors. I sort of saw the video. Are you famous? To which I would say, the answer is in the question. Again, that didn't really work when I did it with them as well, so it didn't work here either. School to me was like, I'm afraid to say, family, because I was brought up in children's homes, and I could smell family on all the children that came to the school, and I was one of the most popular young people in the school, and quite possibly a nightmare for every teacher who ever contacted me. But I wasn't. They saw my ability to make people laugh. They saw my need and want to make everybody feel okay around me. My nickname was Chalky White, which I thought was a good way of blending in. I thought that my name was Norman as a child, because a social worker thought that would help me blend in as well. And I was the first at school and the last to leave. I would spend my buzz money before I caught the buzz home, seconds before I got on crisps, prawn cocktail, and then I would just spend all the time scrounging money off people to get the buzz, and I would get it. I remember realizing that it was never about getting the money. It was about contacting people. It was about communicating with people, and it was about eliciting some contact. It's exactly the same process that happens with people who are begging on the streets in Manchester, some whom I know. I did a reading in Islington last week at a school, and I wanted to share this with you. It's not linked with what I was just speaking about, but I do want to share it with you. And the head teacher decided that the Ofsted inspection was not her aim, that it really had very little to do with what her aims were in the school. No, it had something to do with what her aims were in the school. And as you enter the school, she has big posters, white posters that say, I can't remember the name of the school, Let's call it Islington High School. Islington High School is a wonderful school. And then the next one, Islington High School is a brilliant school. And then the next one, Islington High School is a magical school. And she had all of these terms of description to shed light on what the environment was that anybody who came would walk into. Her point was, and I said to her, why, that's beautiful, it's just a direct statement. She said, well, I have these standards with Ofsted, and we started to actually measure ourselves by those standards. But I didn't come into education to be measured by those standards. I came because I wanted to be in wonderful places, magical places, brilliant places. So I put those there. So the school's doing really well in Ofsted. But actually, it reminded me how easy it is for us to become institutionalized. When I was in the children's homes as a child, there were red boxes in all of the children's homes, 15, 20 of them. And they said, in emergency, break glass. We were 20 children who'd all come from traumatized backgrounds. An emotional Hiroshima had happened to all of us. We were all separated from our families. And we were all put as adolescents into one room, into one building. The entire institution, I realized when I was in care, was waiting for us to break the glass so that it could become itself. Because when we broke the glass, everybody knew what to do. Everybody was very clear about what to do. It was like the institution was mercurial until glass was broken. I would go so far as to say that they wanted the glass to be broken so that they could then see themselves in the institution as knowing precisely what to do. They never congratulated us for not breaking the glass, ever. 20 traumatized adolescents with red boxes that say, in emergency, don't break the glass, and we didn't, most of the time. So anyway, I just wanted to share that thing about the posters. As a child in care, I was a problem waiting to be solved rather than a solution waiting to happen. I was never told that Harry Potter was a foster child, or that, well, Harry Potter wasn't around then, but that Superman was a foster child, that Moses was adopted, that Jesus came from a two-parent family, that Muhammad from the Quran was a foster child. People were waiting for me to do something wrong, and in so much, they were pushing me towards doing something wrong so that they could be themselves, become themselves. I'm a creative by trade, and creativity is what I used as a child and what I use as an adult, and it's not the monopoly of artists. Creativity is something which is in all of us, constantly problem solving. We can use creativity to see a better way forward, as I did. God, that sounded so general. When people speak of great leaders in business, they will speak of them as creative. For me, creativity is a powerful part of who we are, and my school embraced it. My head teacher, a small woman who looked like the designer in The Incredibles, Mrs. Hughes, she gave me a book by the Liverpool poets, by Brian Patton, Roger McGough, and Adrian Henry, and on the front page of that book is the mention of an orphanage. And my English teacher, Mr. Unsworth, he used to read my poetry after school and then comment to me about it in English lessons, after English lessons, and criticize my writing. And for me, that was a sign of somebody caring. I didn't realize at the time, but I would then start to take in my poems to him. Last week, Mr. Unsworth, bald-headed, rugby player, socialist, straight out of Kes, came to my inauguration as Chancellor of the University of Manchester. It was beautiful. And I still call him Mr. Unsworth. As many, you'll know people who kind of do that. I am inspired by the schools that have worked for me and through me. I've been to hundreds and hundreds of schools. I don't do them anymore, not due to the court case, but I so easy, I'm sorry. But I have the privilege as a writer. I genuinely don't do schools anymore, so this isn't an action for work. I work with care leavers in particular because that's where I want to specialize. And I find, a lot of writers visit schools, and we could never do what the teachers do. That constant kind of daily, almost just being there. We can't do that. We come in with all the bells and whistles, the visiting poets, and you see the kids look at us like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, and we love doing it. But we couldn't do what you do. We couldn't be there every single day. We couldn't be there. We couldn't handle how you handle the moods and the mood swings of the young people. We couldn't do that. It is an incredible thing. It is a kind of children's home. It really is. You are partially social workers. You are reading body language as much as what's said. You are pretty damn incredible. And had it not been for the schools in my childhood, that the schools were more regular to me than the home life. And to carry that many of us on a daily basis is just an incredible feat. I do a Christmas dinner every year for care leavers, and I get 20 people together, and I say, right, we've got nothing, let's make something. Let's make a Christmas dinner. We have the chef from the Manchester City and Manchester United. We have presents donated. We get a venue, we get it for free. I'm doing in Manchester, Leeds and Hackney this year for care leavers between 18 and 30. The reason I say that to you is because nobody is in that group that's going, well, we can't do that. Can't do that because blah, 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 blah. Because I'm not interested in people who can't do. The question is finding a way to do. Don't be there. If you can't do it, don't be in the job. We need to do this. So if you find a problem with it that you feel is insurmountable, then don't do it. Then don't be there. And we make it happen every year. You do that every single day. And it is incredible. And we need you. Kids, we need you. And the care leaving kids, we need you. Thanks a lot, folks. Can I just say one more thing? And it's just about Sainsbury's. It's just like what you have in Sainsbury's. You have people teaching you how to get them out of a job. So what they're doing is they tell you how to use the machine, and you go to, but that person is telling you how she's going to lose her job by doing that. And it's happening in teaching. The statistics are overriding the central powerhouse of all teaching, and that's the unique communication between one person and one adult and a young person through teaching. That's the USP of teaching. That's it. It's like that cannot be done by a machine. whatever the targets are. That's the USP. I wish every teacher in every classroom, in every school in the world wrote the reason why they got into teaching in big letters in their classroom, because that's the USP. That is irreplaceable. That goes back to the beginning of time, the beginning of human beings on this earth. That communication, that teaching. It's a really powerful USP as well. I just wanted to say that. Thanks.